Rome is a city steeped in myth and legend, its monuments and ruins, whispering tales of an era long gone. Among the most intriguing aspects of ancient Roman culture were the Vestal Virgins, priestesses who've played a pivotal role in Roman religion and society. Their duty to guard the sacred flame of Rome, symbolizing the endurance and life of the city. Young girls between the ages of 6 and 10 were chosen, typically from noble families. This was not just a position, it was a calling, a duty to the state. People would come from far and wide to see them, to seek their blessings, or just to catch a glimpse of these holy women. At 30, when their vows were up, they could finally leave the temple and live a more normal life. Some went on to marry, while others continued to serve Vesta in a less restrictive role. But for 30 long years, their lives were dedicated to the service of the goddess and the state. The Romans believed that they were doing what was necessary to protect the sanctity of their religion. The answer lies in the importance of the Vestal Virgins in Roman society. They were not just priestesses, they were symbols of Rome's greatness, embodiments of the values and morals that the Romans held so dear. Their purity and commitment to their duties were seen as essential to the well-being of the city. If the evidence against them was weak, or the accusers were discredited, they might be spared the harshest penalty. Instead, they were given a choice to leave the temple and live the rest of their lives in disgrace, or to stay and face the ordeal with courage. Historians have pieced together the story of the Vestal Virgins through their writings and artifacts. They describe the rituals and ceremonies the virgins participated in, as well as the privileges and restrictions placed upon them. The Roman historians had their own perspectives and agendas, and their accounts may not fully represent the experiences of the Vestal Virgins. Additionally, the archaeological record is incomplete and subject to interpretation. Archaeological discoveries, such as the excavations at the site of the Temple of Vesta, have uncovered physical evidence that helps us understand their way of life. The discovery of various objects, including oil lamps, incense burners, and votive offerings, provides tangible connections to the daily lives of the Vestal Virgins. Their depictions offer a glimpse into the beliefs and practices of ancient Roman society, shedding light on a world that is now long gone. Some chose to leave, walking away from the only life they had ever known, forever tainted by the scandal. They form the basis of our understanding of this enigmatic group of women and their place in ancient Roman society. While there are gaps and uncertainties, the available evidence paints a haunting picture of their lives, duties, and ultimate fates. Others chose to stay, facing their fate with dignity and honor. So when a Vestal Virgin broke her vows, it was seen as a betrayal of the highest order, an offense against the gods themselves. The ordeal left them traumatized, haunted by the fear of what could have been. It challenges us to look beyond the grandeur and mythology of ancient civilizations and confront the harsh realities of their practices. The story of the Vestal Virgins is more than just a tale of buried women. It's a reflection of the values, beliefs, and societal norms of a bygone era. It is a testament to the lengths to which ancient Rome went to preserve its traditions and protect its way of life. It's a story that, though unsettling, offers a valuable lesson in empathy, understanding, and the importance of learning from our past. And in the case of those who were buried alive, the trauma was even more profound. Imagine being trapped in a small pit, the weight of the earth pressing down on you, the sound of the world slowly fading away as you struggle to breathe. The fear, the desperation, the helplessness, all of these emotions were part of the Vestal Virgin's grim reality. The punishment had to be equally severe. By burying the Vestal Virgin alive, they were ensuring that the impurity was contained and Rome's luck was not affected. There were cases where a virgin might have been falsely accused, either out of jealousy or personal vendetta. In such cases, the evidence was often circumstantial, and the punishment irreversible. A single slip of the tongue, a careless remark, or a simple misunderstanding could cost a Vestal Virgin her life. The Vestal Virgins were revered, almost treated like celebrities of their time. Once a Vestal Virgin was found guilty, her fate was sealed. There was no trial, no defense, no chance of redemption. She was buried alive, left to die a slow and lonely death, her pleas for mercy unheard, her cries for justice unheeded. They had access to the best food, the finest clothes, and the most luxurious accommodations within the temple walls. They were stripped of their titles, their sacred garments, and their dignity. They were then thrown out of the temple and left to fend for themselves. They became outcasts, branded as tainted by association. But the punishment didn't end there. The Romans believed that a pregnant Vestal Virgin was a source of great pollution. To cleanse Rome of this impurity, the Vestal Virgin was subjected to a horrifying ritual. She was tied up and buried alive in a small pit, left to die slowly beneath the bustling streets of Rome. They were also forbidden to marry. If a Vestal Virgin chose to leave the temple before her term was up, she would have to forfeit her position without her head. The virgins were required to be free from any physical imperfections, both inside and out. If a girl had a physical disability or any sign of deformity, she would be rejected. A Vestal Virgin had to be absolutely pure, not just in thought, word, and deed. She could not engage in any sexual activity. If she did, she would bring shame not just upon herself, but also upon the entire temple. The penalty for such a lapse in judgment was severe. It didn't matter if the act was committed willingly or under duress. The law was the law, and the punishment was swift and merciless. Similarly, if her family had a history of criminal activity, or her parents were divorced, she would not be considered. Only the purest of maidens could serve the goddess Vesta. But what happens when a Vestal Virgin breaks her sacred vows? What are the chilling details behind their mysterious burial rituals? And how did these women become ghosts of the Roman Empire? Join us as we delve into the eerie world of the Vestal Virgins and uncover the truth about their burial practices. At the heart of ancient Rome, tucked away in a secluded area near the Roman Forum, stood a temple dedicated to Vesta, the goddess of the hearth and home. This was no ordinary shrine. It was the Temple of Vesta, and within its hallowed halls lived 6 women whose lives were far from ordinary. They were the Vestal Virgins, priestesses, chosen at a young age to serve the goddess Vesta and the Roman state for 30 long years. Their days were filled with rituals and ceremonies, and their nights were spent in the sacred enclosure of the temple, separated from the rest of society. Their existence was one of strict discipline and unwavering commitment. The selection process for the Vestal Virgins was as rigorous as it was intense. Once selected, these girls were taken from their families and thrust into a world of religious obligation. They lived in the Temple of Vesta, cut off from the outside world. Their lives revolved around the sacred flame that burned in the temple, a flame that symbolized the life of Rome itself. It was their duty to keep this flame burning perpetually. To do so, they performed daily rituals, mixing incense and oil, tending to the sacred fire and making sure it never went out. If the flame went out, it was seen as a bad omen, a sign that Rome's luck had changed. And the Vestal Virgins took this responsibility very seriously. Their commitment to their duty was rewarded with honor and respect. As the years passed, the Vestal Virgins grew older, wiser, and more experienced in their duties. But this idyllic life of honor and reverence was not without its challenges. Even a hint of pregnancy was enough to seal a Vestal Virgin's fate. Now, this may seem like a brutal and inhumane practice, but remember, this was ancient Rome, a time when the concept of human rights was yet to be established. But why was this punishment reserved only for the Vestal Virgins? Why not punish any other woman who committed the same offense in the same way? And it wasn't always easy to determine if a Vestal Virgin was truly guilty. But the most tragic part of this grim tale is that there was no appeal. But sometimes, just sometimes, the Vestal Virgins were lucky. But regardless of their choice, their lives were forever altered. It is important to note that these accounts are based on historical records and archaeological findings. For instance, the writings of Roman historians like Livy and Plutarch provide valuable insights into the role and status of the Vestal Virgins. However, it is important to approach these sources critically and acknowledge the potential biases and limitations. That said, these sources provide the most comprehensive accounts of the Vestal Virgins and their burial practices. The ordeal of the Vestal Virgins serves as a reminder of the complexities of the past